The best way to prevent Lyme disease? Wear light-colored clothing when you're out in the woods. Apply tick repellents before heading out. And check yourself, your family, and your pets routinely for ticks. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Hi, everybody. This is Patti Vasquez. You know, sometimes I just decide not to play our theme song, especially when I want to take a moment of reflection or something has happened that doesn't quite lend itself to the mirth of the lovely song by Steve Goody. This is Driving It Home with me, Patti Vasquez, and I have been thinking a lot in the last 24 hours about President Jimmy Carter, who left us yesterday at 100 years old. And it truly is a reflection of the contributions he made. You know, we can certainly agree, no matter where you come from, what your background is, that President Carter was committed to helping people, to doing the very best he could from a very young age through his life in public service, whether it was serving in the Navy as a submarine nuclear specialist. I can't remember the exact title, but serving our country proudly. Obviously serving as the governor of Georgia, as the president of the United States. My first memories of a president, aside from the Dan Aykroyd impressions of President Ford, I think my very first memories of a president are of Jimmy Carter. He was my first president that I have memory of watching him speak, of cheering him on as he ran for re-election, and being devastated when he lost. And I really, you know, people have talked a lot about not only his service in office, but who he really showed himself to be after he was president, and committing himself to working for he and Rosalind Carter, both devoted to helping people, to building houses, to, you know, really uplifting the need for affordable housing. And working with Habitat for Humanity, which continues to be such a important element to so many communities across the country, working to make sure that people had access to the services that they needed. And my husband was yelling today, and I think there are a lot of people who have been thinking about the circumstances under which he lost the presidency, the shenanigans, the backstabbing, basically Reagan. Telling the Iran, I'm so bad at this part of this because I really was just 7 years old, and while I have a degree in history, I have huge blind spots when it comes to American history, in particular, like around like my youth. And I guess it's partly because it's so wrapped up in emotion, and that's where we get into these pockets of back and forth and what our recollections are and what it felt like. But when the hostages. The negotiations for the hostages in Iran were taking place, and Reagan was doing a deal basically with alternate channels, I guess would be the best way to put it, and getting us, into the situation where he didn't want them released. He did not want that success of President Carter having the hostages released. And again, I'm going from like my sort of cobbling it together from my memory, from what I've read, and certainly the powers that were, right? This is when we have groups like the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation who were finagling to manipulate those who were in power. And let's be honest, I mean, a lot of groups in the 70s, the evangelicals, think about the work that Phyllis Schlafly was doing in the anti-feminist space, right? Because we have the top lines of what was happening with the hostages and what was going on globally. We had the oil shortages, which of course, I mean, like that I remember watching the news and those long lines at gas stations, right? And everyone blaming President Carter. And yet the things that he worked on, whether it was during his presidency or after, are quantifiably what we strive for, right? The negotiations he did with the peace talks in the Middle East at Camp David. I mean, there's so many elements to where we were. And yes, people were struggling and trying to make ends meet, to survive. And yet it was a period where our dollar went further with the goods that we were buying. And while we had a gas shortage, the 70s marks, quite frankly, the end of the middle class being able to perpetuate, I guess, that style. The people talk about like, well, my dad was able to, have a job and buy a summer home, on his, he was worked at a grocery store, right? People have all these anecdotal, elements to sort of contextualize what we've gone through over the last 50 years. But let's take the state of Illinois, for example. Since 1979, and I say this over and over again, the wealth of the wealthiest has grown by 110%. And for those of us who are not in that category, the working class, the middle class, people who are poor, our wealth has only increased by 9%. That's since 1979. And that step off is because of the massive control of corporations, of the wealthiest, getting in there and twisting things around. And they were able to use the Republican Party as their vessel to accomplish that. And they have, with many Democrats, also achieved that with corporate money. And, vote this way on my bill, or you're not getting any more money. We'll make sure you're primaried. I'm not saying that things were clear cut or, that there was, some sort of, piety. Again, I said, I'm coming from partly a place of emotion, memories of my childhood, but knowing whatever that was, looking at President Carter when I was a kid, and I guess what it came down to for me in my memory of him speaking and the work that he did, from the solar panels on the White House, which were immediately removed when President Reagan came into office, or the work that he did to connect with people, to want them, even those quotes, right? That he, what is the line about having, thinking about, I can't remember the line. It's one of his most famous line about having, feelings for women in his heart, but never acting on them. And I'm sure that somebody can, Jim knows. Jim in Chicago, what was that line he would, that was, has often been quoted about, not cheating on his wife, but in his mind? What's that?
Well, no, but Patty, he did an interview at 75 with Playboy, and he admitted to impure thoughts, that he had occasionally had impure thoughts. Yeah, and look at today. We've got a sexual predator, an Olympic-sized sexual predator as president, and also Jimmy did promise us that he would tell the unvarnished truth to the best of his ability.
Right, and that was his mistake.
Right. No kidding. And now they have a sexual predator who is on steroids. He tried to get his case thrown out of court today. They wouldn't do it, and the nerve of them. And then he lies, congenital liar. Yeah. But what I can say about, I used to call him Jimmy Cartier. That's what I used to call him. And my girlfriend my girlfriend and I were, campaigning for him. And she always said that Casey, the CIA director, made the deal with the Otella, and they wouldn't release those hostages until Reagan was in office, until Reagan was sworn into office. So she always swore that was the fix was in there. But Jimmy Carter, I was at Rosary College, and now it's Dominican College. Anyway, the nun asked, who voted for Carter? And nobody in the class raised their hand. I raised my hand. I said, I voted for Carter. I said, why'd you vote for him, Chip? I said, for national health insurance. I think it's important. This is 1975 now, Patty. And we became fast friends. Over there. But he was always on the lookout for the public at large. And he always said, the oligarchs are taking over the country. Don't you see it? He says, can't you see the American oligarchs are taking over the political system? And now we're right in the middle of it. And I think Jimmy, even though he was in hospice, he said, I think he I don't know if he wrote it down with the kids. He said, I want to live long enough to vote for Kamala.
Yep.
And he accomplished that. Oh, I feel terrible for him because he was. He was fabulous. He was just a fabulous man. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I do think there's something to his passing before Trump took office, so that his funeral does not have to be under the presidency of Trump and can be guided by the hand of President Biden. Don't you think I'm genuine? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Providence has something to do with that pig.
Yeah.
But
I would be like, no, peace out, everybody.
What about Trump's? You're saying he pivotal. He said he was pivotal president. He can't even spell that word, Patty. He can't even spell pivotal. I mean,
pivotal.
absolutely.
Yeah. We pivoted. We pivoted towards the billionaires after that. Is what we did.
Yeah, exactly.
To the oligarchs. Yep.
Okay, Patty. Take care. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Good to hear from you. Let's take a break here. Hey, you guys, I have another gift card to give away from Fry the Coop, which I'm so excited about. I can't tell you how happy I am that we continue this relationship with Fry the Coop. Fry the Coop is, of course, the destination for hot chicken in Chicagoland, giving a Southern original Midwest touch, whether you want heat or no heat. I miss the heat, but I don't miss. I don't do well with it. I've changed physiologically, so I go mild. And they make some good no heat. I'm just saying. Featuring chicken sandwiches, tenders, chicken and waffles, and now nuggets, all delivering happiness in each crunchy bite. Proudly not using seed oils, frying all of their menu items in 100% beef tallow. Stop by Fry the Coop today at one of its many locations. You can stop by at Oak Lawn, Chicago, Elmhurst, Darien, Prospect Heights, Tinley Park, and Bolingbrook. Again, you can have no heat. That's me. I mean, maybe mild. I could do a little bit of mild. No heat, you can go mild. That's what I'm going to do. Medium, hot, or crazy insanity. You want to try to challenge each other to the super hot? You can do that. And to celebrate the holidays, Fry the Coop gave WCPT gift cards, $25 gift cards, as our little gift to you. Contests running on WCPT 820 are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. Only one entry per person, one winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win every 30 days. Complete rules are available, because I'm speeding through this so quickly. You're like, what'd you say? I try to do that. When I was a kid, speaking of being a kid, the Nissan commercials. Remember the guy that would talk really fast? Yeah. So that's where I learned how to talk. Blame the 80s, everybody. We all talk faster. Actually, when you watch His Girl Friday, Rosalind Russell, I'm just saying, I also grew up on movies in the 1930s where they all talked really fast. Okay. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com by clicking the contest tab. So let's say caller number, let's go caller number 3 today. Caller number 3 for your chance to win a $25 gift card. It's a card from Fry the Coop. Okay, well, let's fix that in post. Well, the recordings will sound better. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays at 1 p.m.
We had a call on this show. A black woman who called in to say that the pre-election finger pointing at black voters was wrong, that she and her community showed up. And she then asked, with real agony and some anger in her voice, where were the rest of us? She felt betrayed. Boy, I understand those feelings.
The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays at 1 p.m.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
So tomorrow I will be off. Elliot Serrano is filling in for me. Elliot Serrano will be joining you from 5 to 7 to drive it home. Looking forward to that show. While I'm on my way to Indianapolis. If you have any friends that live in Indiana, the Indianapolis area in particular, or if you want a road trip, I will be headlining for New Year's Eve at Crackers Comedy Club. Joining me will be my co-producer and collaborator on this show, Jerry Walski. And here's the thing, folks. If you're like, I don't really want to talk about politics on New Year's Eve, I'm not doing politics tomorrow. I'm going to talk about my family and my city a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about my inability. I was telling somebody this. I'm working on a story about how I answer compliments like I've been asked a question. Like if someone tells me I love that dress, I'm like, oh my God, I just got this for $11.99 at TJ Maxx. They didn't say, where'd you get that dress and how much did it cost? I answered 2 questions that have not been asked. The appropriate reaction to someone giving you a compliment, and I want folks to repeat after me. These are the words you use. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Or thank you. I really appreciate that. Folks, we need to learn how to start taking compliments and not like sort of downplay why we own something or how we look. I used to host a show on overnights and I called it Pretty Late with Patti Vasquez, right? And I started about 12 years ago. And I did like the sort of play on words because I will tell you something. I did not feel pretty. Like I would dress up like when I was younger, I would do all the things and try to be pretty or feel pretty or look pretty, all those things. But I felt my best starting about 12 years in my 40s. And so I'm like, here I'm a 40-year-old woman. I'm gonna call the show Pretty Late with Patti Vasquez, and people are like, oh, she thinks she's pretty. And like and then it would be these fights online. It's like, okay, come on. Are we not allowed to like, right? Is it? Okay. I'm just saying. At any rate. Now I'm just driving it home. So at any rate, I don't do politics in my stand-up comedy. And once in a while I do. Like, I'll just throw something out there. If it's something so absurd. I remember when, Trump had said that the California forest fires wouldn't be so bad if they just raked the floors of the forest. And I said, yeah, that was the problem. It was just landscaping was how you prevent hundreds of thousands of acres of land from being destroyed. And so it's like a throwaway. It's something, and I had an audience member come up to me yelling at me about how if you're going to make fun of Trump, you should make fun of Biden. And because it was a throwaway line that I just tossed out there, literally, that's what that is. It's not something I wrote. I just thought of in the moment. He was mad that I wasn't making fun of President Biden, so I asked him, I'm like, what would you like me to say? How would you like me to make fun of him? He goes, I go, I'm sorry, you're having trouble saying something? He goes, I see. You're trying to say that you want to make fun of him for having a speaking disability because of a stutter. And he's like, it's not what? Yeah, it's a disability. Anyway, so that was. So at any rate, that would be the extent of the kind of politics that I do in my stand-up. I put it all right here in the 2 hours to talk about what's going on. And so at any rate, Elliot Serrano will be in for me tomorrow while I travel to Indianapolis to perform at the Crackers Comedy Club in Indianapolis. I'm very excited about that. So, however, Richard Chu is in tomorrow. Richard Chu from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. will be here taking your calls and offering his views on the news of the day. And he will also have another $25 gift card for Fry the Coop to give away. So if you didn't win the card today, you have another chance tomorrow morning with Richard Chu. And then I will have cards on Thursday and Friday to give away. So look forward to having those conversations with you. And if you miss any of our conversations, remember that our shows are podcasts now, and including Driving It Home. And I have 2 podcasts, as a matter of fact, Driving It Home full episodes, and we'll have Driving It Home featured episodes. You can subscribe to one or both. Please do both, because then when we have like an interview maybe you missed, you're like, oh, Patty had on, maybe Jess Piper or John Fugelsang, Renato Mariotti, some of those conversations. And all of our conversations are featured. It just depends on what comes in the hopper. You can subscribe to one or both. The podcasts are now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon. Just search for Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez. You can also get the links on the Driving It Home show page by visiting heartlandsignal.com, and you can click on my photo. I probably need to update those because I've cut my hair off, folks. I cut off 12 inches of hair that I donated to a great organization in Grand Rapids that makes wigs for children. So I have to get that picture updated. You can also find a rundown on that page of my guests coming up each day of the week. And again, you can watch our show on YouTube or Facebook, as well as listening on TuneIn on your phone. So somebody has just texted me. I was talking about Jimmy Carter, and for me, Jimmy Carter was my first president in my memory, right? I was born during the Nixon administration. No recollection of Richard Nixon. The only reason I remember anything about Gerald Ford was because of Dan Aykroyd's portrayals of him. He looked nothing like him. And then I think, didn't Dan Aykroyd also do Jimmy Carter? And I think one of my favorite bits, or maybe it was Chevy Chase that did Ford because he was falling down the stairs, right? Yes, because I believe that was part of how Chevy Chase became addicted to painkillers, was because he was doing all the pratfalls, and it was, oh my God, you guys, Dan Aykroyd, you know what, maybe I can find this. It's not appropriate for me to do someone doing a bit about Jimmy Carter, but there's an episode of Saturday Night Live where Dan Aykroyd, as Jimmy Carter, is taking phone calls from people, and there's somebody who's like like high on Quaaludes, and President Carter talks to him about how he can offset that and feel better. And again, this is when two things were happening at the same time. I was starting to realize that my parents were having political conversations and talking about Carter and Reagan. And I started watching Saturday Night Live because my Aunt Bernice let me stay up late one night. I was 6 years old, and the rest, as they say, is history. A life in comedy began. A life in comedy and politics, I guess. It all kind of makes sense. But somebody texted me. I was referring to the quote that Jimmy Carter had. He did a 1976 Playboy interview where he admitted to feelings of lust and adultery in my heart. And somebody wrote that it nearly cost him the presidency. And here's the thing. Like today, depending on where it's shared, right? Because, I felt like Vice President Harris's interview where she talked about owning a gun. If you break into my house, you're going to get shot. That was a little bit like, hey, I own a gun. But she does, and we know that. And she was a prosecutor, and she's a tough lady, right? But that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter to conservatives or the people who want to own the libs and just hate Democrats. Like, that was never gonna. I think it was a fine answer. I didn't have an issue with it, but it did seem like it was trying to toss red meat at the people that eat the red meat. Jimmy Carter, remembered as a devoted husband and Christian, caused a stir during his 1976 presidential campaign when he candidly discussed his feelings of lust and admitted to committing adultery many times in my heart during an interview with Playboy magazine. These remarks, as Carter later acknowledged, nearly cost me the election. He was better off with that than he was with the kinds of, again, these shenanigans that the Republican Party from that. Like, not that was the beginning of it. I mean, look at Whitewater. For decades, it's a lot of shenanigans, and we keep trying to play by the rules, folks. I don't know. Oh, okay. We have a few more minutes, and we have Dr. Jason Bussell coming in studio as my guest, along with his daughter Ava, and we'll have a conversation with them, wrap up the year with them a little bit, and maybe talk about how to take care of yourself going into the new year, because we're all going to need that. And with that in mind, I was hanging out with some good friends of mine. I've had Dr. Susanna Flores on the show before. She's a psychologist as well as an author. She's written the book Face Hooked, which she was so ahead of her time about how social media was changing our brain chemistry. And I was talking to her and her fiance, Rue, and they said that they stopped listening to my show. A lot of folks are not listening to WCPT or news outlets, and not just us, right? They're like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. I don't know if they're taking a break until after the inauguration or after the new year. So first of all, I want to thank you for continuing to tune in to WCPT for these conversations. And they said they don't want to hear his voice. They don't want to hear what he's doing, which I have to cover what he's doing. But I do not intend on this show to play his voice either. I think for my audio, I want to hear a lot. I want to hear a lot of Jasmine Crockett and AOC and the people who are flame throwing. I want to hear, just the folks that are doing the hard work. Whether it's in chambers or, in the communities. Of course, we're going to talk to our grassroots organizers. We'll check in with Jess Piper. We'll check in with Brittany Rowland. We'll check in with the folks that have their sleeves rolled up in places where it's so hard. And I don't remember the name of the guest that Edwin Eisendrath had on Saturday. You guys go back, listen to Saturday's show of The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. So many great interviews. There was one that sort of caught me a little bit, and to the point about what do you want to hear. It's the journalist out of Tennessee, and I apologize for not remembering her name. I was driving and didn't have a chance to write it down, and sometimes names get away from me. But man, you guys, the sound of her voice about being in Tennessee and how hard it is for her to encourage people to continue to run for Democratic seats when they were just absolutely obliterated. They had high hopes of flipping 4 seats. They were focused on possibly beating Marsha Blackburn, and they just couldn't get it done. And the sound of we need to keep amplifying the folks who are really keep showing up for the work. We can't let them lose hope. And so to what I wanted to address is that my friend Rue and my friend Susanna, Dr. Susanna Flores, were telling me they want to hear hope. And so I want to find those stories and have those conversations about what are we doing, because you guys, there are so many people doing the heavy lifting of holding back fascism, of pushing back against that. And I know it's hard to believe it with the results of the election, but we have a lot of important work to keep doing. You know, I'm going to start showing up for Wisconsin and their Supreme Court race. Politics Girl has a rant recently about how we have got to pay attention to the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin that's coming up faster than you know it, April 1st, and it will determine so much of what happens in the next 2 years. So we will be showing up for each other, and I will find those ways to have conversations of hope and joyful warriorness. I think, I don't know the way to put it, Dave. How are you doing, my friend? David Hoffman Estates.
Patty.
Hey.
Partly I can remember that one you were talking about when Aykroyd was playing the Carter when he was like getting interviewed by, I think it was Bill Murray who was doing his Walter Cronkite, and then this was like a call-in, and this guy was freaking out on acid or something.
Yeah, that's right. It was acid. Right. Yes.
And Cronkite was getting ready to cut it off. I know a little bit of something on this. He said, first what you do is put on an Allman Brothers album, mellow out, and then and it was like like they said, he kind of was like an authority on all kinds of stuff. You know, he kind of micromanaged at times, and then they also did a skit there with they went over to 3 Mile Island.
Yes.
And there was like a water leak on the floor, and Garrett Morris was the the maid or the cleanup guy, and they said, "I'll just go and mop it up." And then he went in there to help mop it up, and the next thing you look, and he said, "Rosin, we have some bad news for you. Look outside the window," and talking about the president. After the atomic stuff, he showed like this poster with the ascension of man.
Right.
And then him and Garrett Morris, I think he like kissed him on the cheek later on, showing that they were getting married because they got, they were all so grotesquely tall from the atomic. So,
yep.
But on a serious note, though, I always remember he worked that phone on them hostages till the last minute that he couldn't do it.
Yep.
And I believe Rip Van Reagan let him go to Wiesbaden in Germany, on like Air Force One or whichever, and he met them guys when they got it back into Germany from Iran. He kept trying so hard, to get them guys home, and like you say, they were just being spiteful.
Yeah.
The Ayatollah, he was being spiteful.
Yeah, there was one agreement with that Carter made in Algeria, and then there was a secret agreement with Reagan. They made a deal with Reagan that the hostages should not be released until after Reagan became president.
Yeah, they waited. What was it? Almost like 2 hours after that they seen that he took the oath and stuff.
These are the games that they play with people's lives and with our future, with our country, with the well-being of Americans. Yep, that's who they are.
But, hey, Patty, one thing, talking about Vice President Harrison, what really tweaked me was a couple weeks ago now at that Army-Navy game. Both she or President Biden were not there.
Yeah. Yeah, why hide? Why are we well, I'm not going to...
But the thing on that, Biden, not so much he's done. It's clear, but Vice President Harris, she was campaigning to be their commander-in-chief. Them young men, both Army and Navy. And she didn't show. That was a bad look,
Yep.
Then you had all those creeps, Trump and President Musk.
Well, do they generally go to the Army Navy games every year? The president does?
They play for the Commander-in-Chief trophy.
Okay, but how often have presidents gone to it?
Yeah, the draft dodger Trump he been there. He was out at 1 or 2, and I remember that. And there's only one of them that I know actually had skin in the game there, and that was Mike Johnson. Because his kid is playing there right now.
Truman attended all but one during his 8 years. Bush and Trump attended 3 times. So Bush was in office for 8 years. So he went in 2001, 4, and 8. So he only went on 3 out of 8 years. And Trump went to 3. So he's gone to 3 of them. At any rate, just telling you. I don't even know if Biden. It doesn't say anything about Biden or Obama even.
Yeah, but. She should have been there because she was campaigning to be their boss. So I don't know, it just kind of bothered me when I didn't see her there, and I seen all of those people up there, Trump and all them. So anyway, just
here. Also, Clinton went in 96. He only went to 1 game. Kennedy went to 2. Ford went to 1. Obama went to the game in 2011, and that's it. I don't see Biden. Did Biden go to any of the games? Oh. Anyway, now you've got me going down a rabbit hole. Thanks, Dave. I got to run. I've got guests coming in studio. Have a good night, Dave. Happy New Year.
I just thought I'd vent that one off.
I got you. All right, take care. Have a good night. Happy New Year. Let's take a break. Here we come back with Dr. Jason Bussell after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Scattered showers tonight with a low near 36 degrees and winds out of the east at 15 to 30 miles an hour. On Tuesday, we'll see rain mixing with a little bit of snow with a high temperature around 39 degrees. New Year's Day on Wednesday, we'll see partly sunny skies with a high temperature around 30 degrees. Thursday, partly sunny with a high of 30. Friday, sunshine with a high temperature around 25 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 40.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Out Chicago.
The media has been manipulated with propaganda and fear, and this is what has brought us where we are today. More than ever, people are looking at just one news source, and that's
what they're doing, they're looking at their phone.
Well, that's their source.
They are looking
that's their source.
Yeah, I know. They're looking at their phone. They're hearing opinion. They're hearing misinformation. They're not looking at sources.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820. WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
It's Patty here, reminding you that Monaco Brewing Company's progressive beers like Maga Tears IPA, Biden Beer, and the LGBTQ-inspired Love Wins Fruited Sour are now available at Chicagoland locations like Armanetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Beer Shop in Oak Park, McLean Liquors in South Elgin, Beer on Central in Evanston, and My Buddies, a pride-friendly bar on Clark in Chicago. Don't forget to drink and vote responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Hey, everybody. Wow, I'm still getting texts about Dave from Hoffman Estates. Let me just address this real quick before I welcome our guests in the studio. Someone just messaged the Army-Navy game took place on December 13th after the election. I think what Dave was trying to say was even though Vice President Harris did not win, she said she was running for our country, for our men and women who serve in the military, so it would be appropriate for her or the President of the United States, President Biden. I think that's where he was coming from. So thank you. And thank you for the name Molly Davis from the Tennessean, who, man, she sounded war-weary, which we all do, which is why we might need the services of someone like our favorite doctor, Dr. Jason Bussell, who joins me in studio with his daughter, Ava. Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Hello, Patty. We're good.
Are we good, Ava?
Yes, we are well.
We are well. Oh, I love that's very proper of you to say we are well, because we are good is not a good grammar, is it? We are, right? I've had this conversation before. Why is it not good grammar?
Because good is, it's an adjective, not an adverb.
Exactly. Because if you're doing, although it's a gerund, it's kind of a state of being. So anyway, it's a passive verb.
It just felt weird.
To say you're doing good?
I'm doing good. I'm
doing well. I'm doing well because it's not as good as good. It's just like I'm status quo. I'm just baseline. So are you better than baseline?
Well, yes.
Excellent. Well, I think the traveling helps. So it's been a couple months, so thank you for joining us, Doc.
Yes, it's been a while. I've missed you, but I've been enjoying your program here.
Thank you.
You've been keeping on in my absence.
Yes, I try. I try to carry on. My husband and I, every single week, we're like, we got to get back to acupuncture. And I think that's something that, like, it gets away from folks. We don't necessarily prioritize the kind of work that you do that helps folks. So tell us a little bit about 2024 and what you're, like, the general feeling you're getting from the clients and patients that come to see you at Chicago Community Acupuncture.
Well, before November, I was getting a lot of anxiety. After, I was getting a lot of depression.
Yeah, I could see that.
I had a lot of patients crying to me with the results of the election, and I could completely understand why. I do have a little bit of hope here, and this is what I was sharing with a lot of my patients.
I want that. Give me all of that.
Well, for one thing, Trump has a long history of incompetence. So last term, he had a lot of stuff he wanted to get done, promised he would get done, didn't get most of it done. And so he's got that behind him. Now, this time he will have a bunch of sycophants around him rather than institutionalists, and the institutionalists served as guardrails before. I'm not as worried about them. I have a plan to deal with them, because what we do with these other loyalists is we praise them.
Yeah.
And he can't stand sharing the limelight.
No.
This is why he didn't like Fauci. Fauci was his guy until Fauci started getting praise, and then Fauci turned into the enemy. So if Musk is being effective, we just say, yeah, Musk is doing a great job here, and Trump won't be able to handle that.
I don't know, because Musk is like the richest person in the world. He bought Twitter. Ava, isn't that crazy?
Yes, it is pretty crazy to be that rich.
Right, and you know how bad his cars are right now? You know, the Teslas, right? They're so bad right now that they're hard to get rid of, because Hertz rental agency had bought a fleet of Teslas around the country. And they apparently it's because a lot of rental agencies will then sell their cars afterwards, right? After they've gone through a certain number of miles. They're like, as soon as, like, they're trying to they're begging anyone who drives a Tesla, who rents one, hey, you want to keep it? Like, literally, hey, like for $18,000, which is a really good price for an EV.
It is, yeah. Right?
It's just crazy. Like, please don't take that car back to our lot. We don't want to see it again. Right? Because I'm guessing the maintenance, people, I don't want to rent it. I wouldn't rent a Tesla because I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Well, the problem with them, we own Teslas.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi.
And we bought them before we knew that Elon was, before we knew what Elon was.
Yes.
The problem with them is just the charging them. So if you don't have it at home, see, I charge at home, so it doesn't bother me. But if I'm on the road, if I'm someplace I would be renting a car, I don't have my garage charger there.
Right.
So finding a place to charge it is a hassle.
They're pretty cars. They're very cool. I'll say I've ridden in them. I've never driven one. How are they to drive?
They're a lot of fun.
They're
like an acceleration ride at Six Flags. But,
yeah. Like you're on a test track?
Yes.
I love it. Have you been to Disney World, Ava?
Yes. We went to Florida.
Yeah, so Disney World,
And Universal.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's okay, you can say that. Why? You're like,
sorry, I said Universal instead of Universal.
Oh, Universal Studios?
Yes.
How long ago did you go to Disney World?
That was a couple years ago.
Yeah?
It was like 6.
But we go to Six Flags several times a year.
That's a good age to go, by the way, is 6.
No.
Why?
I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah, excellent.
Because
I love this story.
was a short kid.
Uh-huh.
And there were some other kids in my class saying, oh, these rides, they're so awesome and everything. No. But when we went there, my parents wanted to go on these rides, but my sister was the only one that could, between me and my sister, was the only one that could go on, so I had to sit with the other parent as the other parent went, and I just, it was so sad because I couldn't ride anything.
I'm very sorry about that. It was, so what ride do you remember that you wanted to ride that you couldn't ride? Do you remember?
The Harry Potter. The Harry Potter Universal.
Yeah, I can't help it. Was it Quidditch?
Yes.
Oh, no.
It was such a good ride, too. I felt so bad for her. But
and he's still talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to tell you this. You kind of got to take her back.
Yeah, we're planning to.
No pressure, Dad. But I kind of feel like you need to make that up.
But we timed it perfectly because she was 6 and her sister was 8, and they were just... she was old enough that she was going to remember it, and the older one was young enough that she still believed in Disney princesses.
Exactly.
So they really thought that they met Snow White and
you did though.
Ariel.
Just so you know.
And, yes.
I
I did.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he's talking about. Why is he putting? I don't know. Why he's putting it that way. It's so weird.
This thing you're gonna say is that Santa Claus is made up.
I mean, legit. Although if he's in Disney World, he's definitely real.
Yeah. No, the Disney magic is real. They are fantastic with what they do there.
I will say I was very fortunate, and my mother. So we went 2 years in a row because my mom paid for it 1 year, and then I happened to sell something that I was like, let's go. It was when the incoming president had just won, so we were like, we wanted to go to the Hall of Presidents before they put him in. So it was pre-Trump in the Hall of Presidents, and the nice thing about going back to back was we remembered so much. And I have, by the way, when you go back, I have a tour, someone who can like help you get through the parks faster. My niece lives there. Yeah. And she has a membership there. So she also can get you a discount on some of the, if you want to buy ears and stuff like that. I have the sequined ears with the Minnie Mouse. Minnie Mouse.
Gold sequins?
They're black. They're black with the red bow. And very cute. And then I also have a Frida Kahlo Mickey Mouse. I sound crazy right now, Lady B. I'm just going to say right now, I sound a little bit crazy because it is a fun place to escape. So what was your favorite ride? Do you know the ones you couldn't go on, but what did you like?
Oh, there's this one like where it was like a Yeti thing.
Yes, the roller coaster.
Yeah, and you went up.
Oh my god,
and then you
so good.
And then you went backwards because like the track was broken. And you're like, oh my god. Yeah, am I going to fall off? And then it just slows down, and then all of a sudden you go backwards.
I forget what it was called, but it was an Animal Planet, right?
It's my husband's going to text me in a moment to tell me what it was, but it's that one's so good, and it roars at you because it's in the ride. That's in the Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom.
My mom didn't ride it.
So
she knew. No, she rode it. She just didn't know about the going backwards. We had seen it on the.
So at 6, you were on that roller coaster, but they didn't let you go on the Quidditch ride.
Yes.
Oh man.
You know, you're talking about Trump at the Hall of Presidents. Is he there? I don't know if he is, because I bet he would charge them to use his likeness.
I know. No, he's there.
Okay.
Because people have shared videos on YouTube of his animatronic.
But I bet he's trying to charge them for that.
I would imagine. He wants some residuals for that. Yeah, something for that. Anyway, but here's the thing. Now when you go to Epcot, it'll be weird because now you've been to Paris. Had you been to Paris before, Eva?
No.
How did you like Paris?
It was great.
Oh, I love that. Do you think you ever went? Okay, let me plant the seed because I don't think I was very successful with the college student in my home. Please, for the love of everything that is good and wonderful, study abroad. I don't know. I don't know how else. I don't care if you're dating somebody. I don't care if you have friends that you want to spend time with. If they're good friends and a good, person that you're dating, they will love that you are getting to experience the world and have an adventure. Okay, say.
Yeah, her older sister now.
Your dad might not want you to go. Now that
No, I do. Okay. I think it's a fantastic experience. Her older sister, who's a sophomore now at Chicago Public High School, they offer a study abroad summer program.
Yes.
The CIEE that she's applying for right now.
Excellent.
So she can spend a couple weeks in Toulouse.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, Griffin has applied. He says he hasn't gotten chosen for it, and I'm like, sure. Look, I was a dumb college student. My boyfriend said he.
Oh yeah.
I was. I was going to go to Aberdeen. I was going to study in Scotland. Like this really cool, fantastic. Because I was a history major, so I wanted to go someplace that had literal history, right? Like going back centuries. And my let's call him Tom because that's his name, Daniels. He said he wouldn't wait for me.
Oh yeah, that was the guy who
Yes, you remember
stop singing.
Yes,
my friend Clara was like, damn, that guy's a jerk.
He was he's also the head of oncology at NYU. So neither here nor there.
So he's trying to make up for it.
Yeah, apparently. Okay, let's go back to taking care of patients. So you were talking about because I want to go into 2025 with a tool belt of resources. And I think that folks need to know that acupuncture is an avenue for self-regulating a little bit, being mindful of our bodies, right?
Yes, our emotions can get out of control. We can get away they can get away from us. Acupuncture can be very grounding.
Right.
Acupuncture, the most common side effect of acupuncture is a lingering sense of calm and well-being.
That's quite the side effect.
Yes, regardless of what we're treating. But if we're focusing on things like anxiety, depression, irritability, it's all the more effective.
Right.
So this is definitely something that people should utilize. If you get good at meditation, you can get to the same state. If you get good at Tai Chi and and Qigong, you can work towards this. But acupuncture does it automatically.
Right.
And I still think that people should do this. They should work on the meditation. Absolutely. I think all my patients should do this. Tai Chi, meditation, Qigong are excellent practices to be developed. But acupuncture can force you into that. Whether you are ready, whether you are practiced or not, it's a wonderful thing to help improve your outlook on life and just be grounded and like, okay, I can handle this.
Right. Well, I think that's something that is something we have to hear over and over again, right? Like, we know that bad things are going to happen, but they're not, like, in the moment of whatever you're experiencing, and even when it is tremendous, like, I've gone through a lot in the last couple of years, and I have been grieving for a wonderful friend of mine who I lost in November. It's all a blur now. It's all a blur. Time means nothing right now. But like, if you imagine what the worst thing that could possibly happen and then deal with it from there, like, that's the thing. Our brains are such an incredibly powerful element of our existence, and you can make yourself feel like something is actually happening. So you have to slow that down, don't you think?
Yes, and to reframe and realize that there's no end of story where they pass judgment. The time keeps going. There's no end of story with this. So look at the Great Depression. It was a terrible time, but it paved the way for the New Deal, and there's great progress with the middle class for 40 years.
Yeah.
So we're in a dark time now. History is full of dark times. Our own personal histories are full of dark times that paved the way for rebirth like the phoenix.
Right.
So we just have got to step back, realize that time's going to keep going. We are going to keep going.
Yes.
Our country has made it through terrible times. We personally have made it through terrible times. We will again.
Right. And there are parts of the world, and I don't want to be like, it can be worse. Like, I never appreciate when someone says, we talk about women's rights, right? We talk about our autonomy, and people are like, well, what if you lived in Afghanistan? I'm like, okay. So you're telling me that the threat is it could be worse for us, right? So that doesn't mean that I don't continue the battle here, but there are bad things happening globally to other people. So if we aren't present for our own sort of progress, it makes it hard for us to fight for other people. So we got to be present. At any rate.
Yeah. And if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of anybody else?
Exactly. Well, this is my thing. I always talk to women about, and not for nothing. I'm just saying, women. Do you find women often put it off because they got to take care of their family, they got to make dinner, they got to do all these other things? And
absolutely, they're the last on the totem pole.
Yes, and I have to remind women, you cannot, as Dr. Bussell just said, you cannot care for those you love if you're not taking care of yourself. If you're not prioritizing your own health, it's put the oxygen mask on first, right?
Yeah, I used to work with a rabbi who told me a Hebrew expression that says, if I don't act for myself, who will?
Right.
But if I act only for myself, what am I?
Ooh.
If not now, when?
Ooh, now. Definitely now. Do you have a sense of, do some of these things land for you, Ava? You're like, I don't know.
I'm just so sucked in on listening.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
But yeah, I did grow up with this mindset of having a healthy balance, finding it very important to have a healthy balance of being aware of everything else, everything that's happening. What can I do to help?
Right.
While still being aware of how can I help myself and how can
be safe.
How can I help myself while helping others?
Right.
And just procrastinating one just destroys the other and makes the one that you're not procrastinating so much harder.
I'm a procrastinator. It's aggressive. And it's so funny how relieved I feel when I finish the task. Like, today, I'm finishing, I covered the RNC back in July. I just turned in my expense report today. Because it's the end of the year and I have to get it done before the end of the tax year. Because that's what I did. Sorry, everybody. Oh, I was just going to get the receipts. Right. So what are your plans for 2025? Do you have any, do you do resolutions? Or, because resolutions, can sort of set ourselves up for a failure. What are your thoughts on resolutions?
Well, resolutions are a great thing for the rest of the night. There is actually...
Wow! Listen to that.
I have a calendar. My mom got me this calendar with all these different days on it. Like, what day is it? And there's, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but it's along the gist of throw out your New Year's resolution day.
Oh, really?
Or something like that, or like, I don't know. But they're a great thing for you to feel inspired on for the next 7 hours.
Right.
And yes, it's a great thing to work on. It plants a seed and gives you a deadline.
Right.
However, they're very difficult to keep in mind of. I'd say more like something that would be more effective is if you wrote down your New Year's resolution in like Times New Roman 12-point font, as my teacher would like, but actually no, like 60 font.
Right.
60 font and
big
just
headline.
Like, print it out and have like a checklist of everything. And then like tape it onto your wall and say, look at it every day. And that I would think that would work because you really don't want to look at it at the end of the day, at the end of the year. End of the year, yeah.
Because that's what we do. Is my wife started this tradition with us that on New Year's Eve we will write down our New Year's resolutions, and she puts them in envelopes and put them away for the year. And then the following New Year's Eve, we pull them out.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Oh.
And it's kind of funny to remember what we thought we were going to do.
Sure. Well, I will tell you, for 2023, so it's not this past year, I didn't really set up a resolution. Maybe in part because I felt so successful with 2023. I vowed to not buy new clothing, which I pretty much, I mean, like with very rare exceptions, everything was thrifted or I just wore my old clothes. Everything was, or buy nothing, which I've talked about on the show. There's a group called Buy Nothing on Facebook. So people are like, hey, who wants this bag of clothes or these shoes? So everything, because I don't want to put more clothing into landfills or buy cheap clothing so now I'm like, but because I thrift so much now, I don't feel the need to I don't know my resolution. So something that I would put up on a big 60 font, New Times Roman.
Times New Roman.
New Times New Roman, right? I'm trying to think what that would be. Are you making a resolution, Doc?
I have to come up with it by tomorrow.
You have to. Do you know what yours is going to be? No, you don't know what yours is going to be.
But I do think that at the end of the year, I do think that wall idea would be a good thing because at the end of the year, you really don't want to look at it and say, dang, this checklist failed. I'm a failure.
Yeah, there is one that I know I'm going to do, and it's partially inspired by you. And last time it was facilitated by you. I wanted to do an open mic comedy.
Oh yeah,
and you got me on your online
1 minute comedy.
Yeah, I did my 1 minute spiel, and that was a lot of fun. I want to go this year and do a real open mic and live one.
Excellent.
So that will be one of mine.
So what I should do is I should get you on. I should bring in Paul Farvar, who knows where all the open mics are, but he could also give you tips on doing. I haven't done an open mic in a long time, which I should. I should get out and do open mics and try new material. But I work 3 jobs as it is, and it's hard to schedule. But at any rate, he can fill you in on getting up on an open mic, like what to expect, and what are the good ones for someone who wants to get out there. Do you think you want to do 5 minutes on your first open mic?
3 to 5, yeah.
3 to 5. Well, no one's going to be mad at you if you get off early.
Yeah.
It's always, if you go long, you aren't going to be welcomed back when you go long. Yeah. It's called running the light. You know when someone blows a light when they're driving down the street? So running the light in a comedy show means they gave you a light and you ignored it and just kept going.
Dave.
Like Dave? Oh, wow. Dang it. She just threw some shade on Dave. Okay. Okay. All right. I was trying to indulge him because he sometimes, well, at any rate, that's a story for another time. Ava, so do you have any ideas of what the category of your New Year's resolution might be in?
Probably some deep stuff.
Ooh, okay.
And some stupid stuff.
Oh, I want to do some stupid stuff.
I don't really have stuff.
Well, what's a stupid thing you can make a resolution about?
I don't know. I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to finding out what you decide to resolve for 2025. And are you going to be doing more training for Ironmans?
Yeah, I'm signed up for 5 triathlons this year.
Excellent.
So all the different distances: 1 Ironman, 1 half, and there's a sprint, super sprint, and an Olympic. So hopefully I'll stay healthy and be able to do all of those.
Someone just texted, Trump should be in the Hall of Doom, not the Hall of Presidents. And I kind of love that. Folks, where can you go to get more information about scheduling an appointment at Chicago Community Acupuncture?
Yeah, you can schedule online at chicomacu.com, CHICOMACU.com. We have our Chicago Community Acupuncture at Milwaukee, Devon, and Nagel, right across there from Superdog. And the phone number is 773-853-0920.
I never eat white rice without thinking about you now, by the way. Because you said it was better than the brown rice.
It is better for you than the brown rice, yeah.
And we'll find out more about that in our continuing conversations in 2025. I wish you both a happy new year. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. My best of the family.
Thank you, Patty.
And I look forward to seeing you again. Yeah, connect with me about coming in to talk about open mics for 2025. I'll put you and Paul Farvar in the same room.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks a lot.
And I look forward to finding out what your resolutions are. And what year are you in?
Eighth grade.
Eighth grade?
I'm in 8th grade.
Where are you going next year? Do you know?
No, I could either go to...
You don't have to tell us if you don't want to tell us on the air. I'll find out afterwards.
Yeah, we won't find out until April.
Yeah.
What? I don't like this at all. All right, fine. That's all I'm saying. One more question from a listener. I know we're going to be running late for the news. I apologize, Lady B. Can acupuncture help with alcoholism? Benefits and chakra lines to treat alcoholism?
Well, I can't speak to chakra lines because that is a different paradigm that I don't know about. But absolutely can help with alcohol cravings and the withdrawal from it. Okay. Now, if you are severely addicted to alcohol, then you need a medical detox. I used to work in drug rehab, and you can die from an unmedicated alcohol detox.
Wow.
So if you are real bad, you're going to need to have some medical assistance with that. If it's not to that level, if you can go a day without drinking, then we can make that day a lot easier, and we can make tomorrow even easier and beyond that.
And it goes into that mindfulness thing too. I mean, but you also should find some resources that help with, talking about it. Like what are the things that inspire you to reach for a drink?
Yes, it's not usually drinking is its own problem.
Exactly. But acupuncture, as we talked about, can also help with mindfulness. So if you're checked in with your body and what the sort of the impulses are, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, a lot of detox centers will use alcohol to curb cravings and to calm the spirit.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. I wish you the best New Year. What are you guys doing before we go? I know I'm super late, but I can't stop talking to these folks. Plus, Dave.
We're boring. We're staying home watching TV.
You are?
Yeah. My number one goal on New Year's is to not be on the road.
Okay. Well, can I encourage this then?
Everybody should come down and see you in Indiana.
Well, both that. Yeah. Both that and watching classic movies. Do you have any? Because we always watch the Marx Brothers. My tradition was always stay up late because on ABC in Chicago, they used to show Fred Astaire movies, which was a lot of fun. Come on. It's like classic dancing. Astaire and Rogers. Come on. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
she did everything he did backwards and in heels. I'm just saying, they're really sweet, fun movies. At any rate, I'm just saying, my favorite is Swing Time. Gay Divorcee is okay. Top Hat and Gay Divorcee are kind of the same storyline, so I would say Top Hat has better numbers in it. Okay, those are just my recommendations. I see that it's not going anywhere with you guys. Again, the website for folks to visit for Chicago Community Acupuncture.
ChicoMaku.com.
That's your fault, by the way.
What?
Chikomaku.
Chikomaku.com.
Yeah. Excellent. It's like I'm listening to the commercial right now. All right, more when we come back with Scott Stantis after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Bye, everybody. Bye, Dr. Bussell.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Ava.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
There is a time and a place for everything in life, and that includes digital tablets. I want to tell you about this Canadian study that found tablet use at 3.5 years old was associated with higher levels of anger and frustration at 4.5 years old, which in turn was associated with higher tablet use at 5.5 years old. Think about it. It's a bit of a cycle, and it's not that surprising. Tantrums are a normal and even necessary part of child development. If you hand your kid a tablet every time they have a meltdown, they're not going to learn to deal with those negative emotions. It's tough in the moment, I get it. I'm a father of 3. But hard parenting work does pay off, and your kids will learn to self-regulate. Save your tablet time for a short special treat, or when you really need it, like if you're taking a meeting or a long trip. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Lowe's knows how to help you save time and money, no matter the job. That's why we can deliver supplies to your job site as soon as same day, so you have more time to get the job done. Because when you need it fast, we've got you covered. Lowe's knows pros. Valid on eligible in-stock orders and select zip codes placed by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. More terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal, and law enforcement officers can tell when you're driving high. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hello, friends. This is Jason Bussell from Chicago Community Acupuncture. We're starting a new year, and what do you want to do with it? I suggest you take this opportunity to get happy and healthy. How do you do that? Well, acupuncture can help, but the real goal of Chinese medicine is to teach our patients to adjust their diet, lifestyle, and attitudes so they don't need medicines or treatment. To learn how, read The Asian Diet. Simple secrets for eating right, losing weight, and being well. Available at all major online retailers. It's time to take control of your health. If not now, when? And if acupuncture can help, see us at Chicago Community Acupuncture at Milwaukee, Devon, and Nagel. Call us at 773-853-0920, 773-853-0920, or our website, Chicom Acu.
Chicomacu.
CHICOMACU.com.
Or CHICOMACU.com. Chicomacu.
And Happy New Year.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The Treasury Department's calling it a major cybersecurity incident. Chinese hackers remotely accessed several Treasury workstations. Ed Donahue has details.
The Treasury Department says Chinese hackers remotely accessed several of its workstations and documents. The agency says the hack was through a third-party software provider. The documents accessed were unclassified. A letter was sent to lawmakers that said there is no evidence indicating the threat actor had continued access to Treasury information, and it is being investigated as a major cybersecurity incident. This comes as U.S. officials are continuing to grapple with the fallout of a massive Chinese cyber espionage campaign known as Salt Typhoon. It gave officials in Beijing access to private text and phone conversations of an unknown number of Americans. A top White House official says the number of telecommunications companies affected by the hack has now risen to 9. Ed Donahue, Washington.
The FBI is warning sports leagues about crime organizations targeting professional athletes. It follows a string of burglaries at the homes of prominent NFL and NBA players. Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, the latest. Israel's military says it intercepted a missile fired toward the country by Yemen's Houthi rebels. The attack set off sirens in central Israel, including Tel Aviv. And President Biden's remembering one of his predecessors.
We'd all do well to try to be a little more like Jimmy Carter.
The president calls him an extraordinary leader, statesman, and humanitarian.
He built housing and homeless for the homeless with his own hands.
A friend of 50 years.
Millions of people all around the world, all over the world, feel they lost a friend as well, even though they never met him.
A man worth admiring.
What Jimmy Carter is an example of is just simple decency.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
A state funeral and National Day of Mourning set for January 9th. This is AP News. Monday Night Football has the 49ers hosting the Lions. And if you didn't stay up, Dave Ferry has a recap of a dramatic Sunday night game.
The Commanders' 30-24 overtime win against the Falcons allows Washington to clinch an NFC wildcard berth and drops Atlanta behind the Buccaneers for the NFC South lead. Jaden Daniels won it with his third touchdown pass of the game, a playoff-clinching 2-yard throw to Zach Ertz.
I'm excited. I'm happy. The fan base waited a long time for this. I really can't put into words, how much it means to them and how much it means to me be able to go out there and lead this franchise and this team to opportunities like that.
Daniels threw for 227 yards and also ran 16 times for 127 yards. Ertz had 2 scoring receptions for the 11-5 Commanders. Michael Penix hit Kyle Pitts for a 13-yard TD with 1:19 left in regulation, tying the game for Atlanta. I'm Dave Ferry.
And I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thank you for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Scattered showers tonight with a low near 36 degrees and winds out of the east at 15 to 30 miles an hour. On Tuesday, we'll see rain mixing with a little bit of snow with a high temperature around 39 degrees. New Year's Day on Wednesday, we'll see partly sunny skies with a high temperature around 30 degrees. Thursday, partly sunny with a high of 30. Friday, sunshine with a high temperature around 25 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 40.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because feeling full can sound like this.
How did the interview go? I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
And like this.
Mom, I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. And hello to our friends listening in the evening on KTNF, AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And I believe coming up on Friday, you'll hear an interview that I did with Matt McNeil. We did an hour kind of review of the year and what's to come. And I'm thrilled to be joined by another friend of mine, one of my dearest friends, Scott Stantis, who is the political cartoonist for the Chicago Tribune. And you can hear him pretty much every day, I would imagine, on Center Clip, which I previously had been doing some stuff with. Hi, Scott. I think I have you. Let's see if we can hear you. Nope, I can't hear you. Let's see. I'm going to say, let's try you first. Nope. You were saying some very important things. I can tell through our Zoom that you were saying some very important things. You're using hand gestures. What has helped you fix this in the past for us to be able to hear you? Yes. I can't hear you. Let's see. We got that. I think I have everything rolled up. I have Adobe up. Let's see. I know Scott does this thing. He's like sweating. Like he thought I was joking that I could hear him, but I can't hear him. Scott and I have been friends. Do I have I have that up, right?
You're fine. It's his side.
It's your side. Did you hear, Lady B? The voice has spoken. Look, it's Lady B. Oh, Hawthorne, you can't see her because I have the blur on, unblur. She says it's your fault. Just I love the look on his face.
So
he's
can you disconnect and reconnect?
How about disconnect and try reconnecting? Let's try that first.
Yeah.
And then also see that little cog, the little tool thing? Sometimes that changes where your microphone source is. Try that first. Oh, Dr. Bussell has joined us again. This is all kinds of, he disconnected. So let's see if that works. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me take a phone call. Farmer from Virginia? A farmer or the name is Farmer? The name is Farmer. The name is Farmer hung up. Okay. Now I don't know if I have any show to go on. Let's see. No, I can't hear you. Okay, Lady B, I have nothing else. It's online. There's nothing else to do.
We're not getting the levels from his side.
Oh, we're not getting the levels from you, Scott.
Yeah.
We're not turning up the volume. I mean, I could talk to you through my Zoom, but I don't think the audio.
Now?
Oh, there you are. It was you. Okay. Write down whatever you just did. What did you just do? Write it down.
Okay.
Write it down right now.
It's on the little coggy thing.
I told you, the little coggy thing. Right? Oh, I was right. Oh, can we memorialize this moment in history of Scott Stantis saying you were right?
Oh, you've been right several times. And I remember leading up to 2016, and I was saying, he can't. He has said something so egregious, there's no way he can win. And you go, yes, he can.
Yeah, he can.
You were right.
But I didn't think he was going to do it again, is the only thing. I thought, certainly, the effects of what actually happened fundamentally would have an impact on people. Is there a lack of memory or is there intellectual dissonance?
Do you want my theory on this? I actually have a theory.
I do want a theory on this. I don't like my bangs, but nobody else can see that except for our friends.
Adorable. You always look adorable.
You're very sweet. Okay, well, you look adorable too. I like your baseball hat. Is this a Chicago hat? It looks like
it's Chicago
Tribune.
Tribune.
Yeah, that's great. I want that hat, but not in that color.
No, I don't.
Black and white would be nice.
I was disappointed.
That's all right. Okay,
it should be or blue.
Sorry.
Because blue.
Yes. Yeah, that too.
Okay, so my theory is twofold. One is the studies on fluoride, which I know, it sounds like it's one of those 1960s bad crap, crazy conspiracy things. But what happened is, yes, fluoride has helped with tooth decay, but they didn't regulate how much should be put in. So there's twice or three times the amount that should be put in. And there seems to be, there may be some connection between that and IQ. It may affect pregnant women who ingest it. It may affect their child. Two is all this lead in our pipes. Stay with me on this. don't give me that look.
No. I'm just saying, are some of us just genetically predisposed to be able to weather the fluoride and the lead in our bodies? Because
they think that's what ended. You know this. You're a history major. That's what they think was one of the reasons for the fall of the Roman Empire. And
was in the pottery,
the pipes, makes you a little kooky.
The ceramics,
nutty.
Sure.
And it could make you re-elect a guy who tried to overturn, an election. That's all I'm saying is that those two factors, possibly one or two or both combined, could just lead to the fact that America has gotten remarkably stupid.
And I was listening to Edwin Eisendrath on Sunday. He's a Saturday. He's one of the other hosts here. He's a former elected in City Hall and is really tremendous at writing about politics. And he was saying that what you just said, right? Tremendously stupid, right?
Yeah.
And that we people like you and I shouldn't refer to people who vote for Trump as being stupid, because then why would they ever listen to us? And yet, it's almost like, why do we have to do all the work of being nice to them when they are verifiably jackholes to everyone else? What is that? Why do we have to keep being nice?
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. It's you can't, Patty, okay, you know what? I can talk freely about anything because this doesn't apply to the Tribune, but other clients I have, you can't say that about Trump. We're just going to back off.
Back off of Trump.
Back off. They're looking for cartoonists who will draw pro-Trump cartoons. I'm thinking, have you seen? Yeah, have you seen?
Well,
have you seen the cartoonists who do this?
Ted helped get him elected. He may as well do those too. I'm just saying, be all pro-Trump, Ted. Sorry.
I don't think Ted. We're talking about Ted Rall, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't think he's pro.
You help a guy get elected. You want to go knee deep in you can't vote for someone like Harris. Yeah, then go ahead and start drawing pro-Trump stuff, Ted.
I'd say it's something more to do with the 7 to 10 million Democrats who didn't bother to show up.
Sure,
it might have a little something to do with her Kamala Harris losing that election.
Also, they're stupid. I have no problem saying that.
I think
verifiably, quantifiably, all the things.
People who do not vote are morons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way to put it.
I have a sibling.
Who did not vote.
Yeah. I have a sibling who told me years ago when I was in my 20s, so we're talking 30 years ago, she told me that she didn't think it made any difference. And I think that, even though all the other lies that she told about my father and these horrible, just pockets of trauma that she inflicted on me. I think the stupidest thing, the worst conversation we had was that she goes, I don't really vote. I don't think it makes any difference. Yeah, we're done. We are not related.
And people, it's not an exaggeration to say people died for your right to go to the polls.
Yeah.
People as early in my lifetime, you're hearing the voice of someone who lived in an era where people literally had to die.
Yeah.
So that their people would have the right to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I'm sorry, women did not have the right to vote 110 some years ago, 106 years ago.
1920 was the first presidential
104,
election that women could vote in.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, what do we do? President Carter was 100 years old, 4 years before he was born. Women earned the right to vote. Earned.
Yeah.
Not won, earned it. Through protests, through starvation, through being imprisoned, through dying. Yep.
By the way, and I know you know this, Patty, but if your listeners don't, I've just recently started reading about the suffrage movement and more in depth, because if I get on a topic and I think I don't know enough about it, I just read a lot of stuff about it. I did not realize, to my shame, I knew it was hard and they got yelled at when they protested, the suffragettes and so on. I did not realize they were thrown in jail. They were tortured. I mean, by any definition, tortured, starved, deprived of water. I mean, these...
Yes, shut up, little lady.
Were much more badass than anything I ever thought.
Check out those stories. Have you looked at the British suffragettes? And many of them were trained in jiu-jitsu, which I talked to my friend Gen Z about. Check out the jiu-jitsu experts that were training women in England. Oh yeah, take a look at
why?
Because you don't have to be big and strong. Yeah, because you don't have to be big and strong. It's about using your own body weight. It's about leverage. It's about using what you have, like collars, and because you can choke somebody with their own jacket, so they could. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
I had not heard that. And don't forget the British women, the United States, we don't get to say this a lot, Patty, but the United States led the world in women's votes, the Western world, at least certainly in terms of Britain. Britain got it a few years after the United States. Right. So, yay.
Yay.
There's one.
Yay. This is all crazy.
Yeah, it really is. I do, and I'm serious when I say there could be something environmental about what's happened, because and you know me, and you know this is true. I was watching some videos and some interviews of Richard Nixon. And, for all of the demonization, and rightfully so, he was remarkably adroit and brilliant. And these things like, they asked him about Harry Truman, Harry Truman was brutal towards Richard. I mean, brutal.
Yeah.
About talking about him in public. And Nixon was actually fairly... kind, and was like, he said he recognized him, his political skills, recognized his administrative abilities. He and JFK were friends, which is hard to fathom in this day and age.
Yeah, really.
But and I'm just looking back on that era where the elected officials were, could actually construct a cohesive sentence, could actually discuss issues in depth. And now we have a petulant 7-year-old as a president-elect.
Yeah.
Who
but it's the first time. Well, then are you saying that there was fluoride in the water and lead in the pipes in Nazi Germany, or in Mussolini's Italy, or in Stalin's Russia? Or, we could go on.
It could. I'm unfamiliar
I'm just saying,
with the plumbing of Nazi
Well, here's the thing, right, is that what is hard to come to terms with as a human being that has empathy, I guess, because a lot of it, I think, is the empathy part. If you have empathy for others, right, then you look at policy or politics as how do we help the most amount of people as possible, right? Look, whether or not I believe in how do I put this? The elements of the Bible that somehow we're supposed to be adhering to. Leviticus is, writings right about whether it's a man and lying with him. But that's the thing, is that people who don't understand, who embrace the ideas of the religious part of Christianity, right? Catholicism, the Baptists, the Methodists, the Evangelicals, all the sort of the idea the Bible is the end all and be all of our moral, what we're supposed to be as human beings, the Word of God, right? They take the teachings of the Bible as the absolute truth, even though it's been written and rewritten and it was over centuries. Do we really believe that that God, created this flood that would kill everybody except for Noah and a couple of elephants and some cockroaches? I don't understand, the teachings of Christ. If we go to just the teachings of Christ and what we learn from them, those are elements of humanity that I want to embrace. Turning the other cheek, forgiveness, helping people. The fact that he washed the feet of a leper, or the Mary Magdalene, right? the idea that he would uplift those who others would stone to death in certain cultures in this world, right?
Yeah.
Like that is what. So to me, it's the teachings. This guy who a lot of people were like, yeah, he's got a good idea. We should be teaching and be treating the other. And then, but then for it to be weaponized for centuries through the Crusades, through colonizing, through religion, like that's the bastardization of Christianity in my mind, as you know, and that's as somebody who's had a very eclectic and complicated experience through Christianity.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I think any reasonable person who reads the New Testament, particularly, and especially the Gospels, you walk away from there saying, you know, Jesus was a lot of stuff was like, you know, judge not lest ye be judged.
Right.
You know, he said that's Dad's job. You know, that's why Dad has the corner office and the parking space. You know, that's you know, the idea of empathy, like you said, empathy is viewed as weakness now. It's viewed,
right.
It's mocked. It's,
yes.
I mean, here's the thing, Patty. Think about what the year we're entering now, 2025, and in the next couple of years. The state of Texas bought a big rancher's spread, a bunch of property right on the border. The governor of Texas has since turned around, and the head of the Natural Resources Board has turned around and offered it to the incoming Trump administration, saying that, hey, when you get your internment camps, you can use this property. Where are we as a country that we're going to have these camps? We're going to see people subjugated, housed in substandard housing by the hundreds of thousands. And we're cool with this. And you know what scares the hell out of me is that no one's going to care.
So Governor Huckabee has also bought 800 acres in Arkansas and wants to build a detainment center as well with 3,000 beds. And I've been talking to Jess Piper, and if you follow Jess Piper on Blue Sky, Jess Piper is the Blue Missouri president, and she's also Dirt Road Dem is her podcast. I did not realize until she started posting about this, about how they're going to use property like that. The amount of acreage that you're talking about and the amount of acreage they're talking about in Arkansas is the kind of land you would use for agriculture. So you have forced prison labor on those lands. But here's the thing. We already are benefiting from from prison labor as Americans, because places like Target and Walmart are buying produce from prison labor, from forced labor. Yep. About $200 million. I did not know that either until Jess Piper started and this is like, and here's the thing, we talk about journalism and how, you know, real journalism is dead, and yet there are people writing these investigative pieces that we are not learning. I mean, like, there are some just heart-wrenching stories around the country, in particular when it comes to our system of incarceration. It's in large part because it is incarceration for profit. It's prison for profit.
Yeah, it should not be.
Right. I remember. So I'll dip back and forth when it comes to doing political humor on stage, because I know it's not necessarily my comfort space in a comedy club or in a theater, right? Like my biographical stuff and things I observe. But when Governor Quinn was in office, he signed Governor Quinn, a Democrat, signed a contract pledging that we would have 90% occupancy in our prisons. Like, how do you commit to saying we promise that our prisons will be at 90% occupancy, right? So, like, my bit was that you get pulled over, and you're like, officer, would I do something wrong? He's like, no, we just have an empty bed. I mean, that's dark stuff.
It's really dark stuff.
And that's a blue state, man. Like, what are we doing?
And it's human trafficking, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
It's really profiting from the pain and suffering of people who have no choice but to be within that company's care.
It's not just no choice, constitutionally protected. I think I can't remember, it's the 13. The only reason you can force labor is because of punishment. It's in our Constitution, Scott.
That doesn't count anymore either, does it?
So anyway, how are things going on your end?
Things are good.
Everything's great.
I'm talking to friends of mine now, Patty, who are my age or older. I'm 65. and ones who are older now, and they're kind of like going, well, I'm not going to care that much about it. I'm going to be dead soon anyway.
Oh my God.
Which is like, well, there you go. That's the plus. that's the happy takeaway of the Trump election. Well, some of us will be dead soon.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And
I don't know how you respond to that. I mean,
I don't want to really go there because I've had some thoughts. I mean, like, not like any self-harm thoughts, but just kind of like, I had a good run at it. I mean, like, I lived a good life. Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what kind of target I will be for speaking out against the next president of the United States. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I don't plan to shut up, folks. So there's that. There's your hope and joy. Patty won't shut up.
God,
surprising. I know.
I cannot imagine a world where Patty shuts up. I mean, it doesn't exist.
It really does not. It does. I've had laryngitis twice in the last 30 years, and it was the worst days of my life.
And I bet you still talk. I'm going to bet you still.
It was they were like, please stop talking. We usually say that, but it's hurting us now. I can't stop talking. Okay. Anyway, so continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was it. I am not. I'm. You know me. I'm kind of like a pessimistic optimist. But what's coming up now? The stated. The tariffs, for instance. I mean, these are going to be catastrophic to an economy that seems to be kind of in a very precarious position today. Mm-hmm. It wasn't booming, but it was healthy, and now it seems to have lost some of that luster. And the next year or 2 years, I mean, think about, I'm no fan of Joe Biden and the administration, but I would argue, and I would win, that Joe Biden saved the American people from a recession. Mm-hmm. That because of his policies, putting money into the economy, understanding the hangover from COVID, and the policies that he had, saved us. I mean, we had a soft landing in this economy, a remarkably soft landing, far softer than I thought it would be. We're kind of not quite in as dramatic a position, but Donald Trump and his people, this is not going to be a soft landing. When you have when you have his head of whatever, what's it called?
DAGE. Department, I don't know what the rest of it is.
Doge.
Doge, not DA. DO.
Wasn't that like
Department
a
of Government
era?
Government what?
Efficiency. Yeah,
Doge.
And they're saying, and Musk is saying, well, it's going to be a really bad 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, if they do what they said they're going to do, and that is they're going to cut the federal workforce by millions of workers, couple that with tariffs of 25% on items from our biggest trading partners with Mexico and Canada, not to mention the tariffs he's going to lump on to Chinese imports. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that what we're heading, the waters we're going to head into are going to be catastrophic. He's also a second-term president, and they have significantly less power. And I mean, I'm just looking, I'm doing the math here, and it doesn't add up to good times. Just saying.
No.
But on the plus side, it's, nice weather. It's warming up here. I mean,
let me tell you.
We don't have snow in Chicago.
48 degrees. I mean, it was sunny and warm today. Like, I went out with a blazer yesterday. My mom was all nervous because it's December, so it doesn't seem appropriate to walk outside with just a blazer and a scarf, and it was gorgeous outside. I mean, you coming? You didn't come. Did you come and I didn't?
No, I didn't this year. We've got
gotcha. All right. So you're saying now I really do need to come to Alabama?
We'd love to have you. We have a room with your name on it, which is weird, but
I appreciate that.
Say, why is Patty's name on that room?
Just in case. I'm actually, let me take a break here and I'll tell you what my plans are. I want to find out what you're doing for Inauguration Day. I'll tell you what my plans are. And they don't.
I got to hear this. I'm
so excited. I'm so freaking excited. Let me take a break here. We're hanging out with Scott Stantis, the political cartoonist for the Chicago Tribune. You can also find his work at gocomics.com and follow him on Centerclip. Maybe someday I'll come back to that, but I don't like to play with those boys. They're just mean. More after this on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for about $10 a month with no annual contract? It's possible with Whole Home Connect, your internet superstore. The internet's grown up over the years. There used to be maybe one provider. Now you have multiple choices that you may not even be aware of. Whole Home Connect can help you. With one phone call, they will show you the best internet deals available in your neighborhood. And yes, we have deals as low as $10 a month, with no annual contracts. Whole Home Connect is your one-stop discount store for all your internet needs. It's time to upgrade your internet plan and save money. Call right now for a free quote and to learn about internet plans starting at $10 a month with no contracts.
Call now, 800-257-5168, 800-257-5168. Call right now, 800-257-5168. Again, that's 800-257-5168.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. After working several odd jobs in New York City, Henry Johnson found his way into the National Guard during World War I. Johnson was assigned to the 369th Infantry Regiment, but the all-black unit was better known as the Harlem Hellfighters. The Hellfighters' first task was assisting the French Fourth Army. On May 15, 1918, Hellfighter Johnson noticed Germans attempting to break in. Johnson retreated to get backup from the French troops, noticing German soldiers were attempting to kidnap another Hellfighter. Despite standing at only 5'4", Johnson sprung into action. With only 3 bullets and a bolo knife, Johnson was able to kill 4 enemy soldiers and wounded 21 others, causing them to retreat, saving himself and his men. However, Johnson received a total of 21 injuries all over his body, including his left foot being shattered. Johnson was discharged, and his papers did not show his heroism or his injury, leaving him unable to receive any disability compensation, leaving Johnson penniless at the time of his death at age 36. Johnson's heroism went unnoticed for decades until President Barack Obama awarded him the Medal of Honor in 2015.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Scattered showers tonight with a low near 36 degrees and winds out of the east at 15 to 30 miles an hour. On Tuesday, we'll see rain mixing with a little bit of snow with a high temperature around 39 degrees. New Year's Day on Wednesday, we'll see partly sunny skies with a high temperature around 30 degrees. Thursday, partly sunny with a high of 30. Friday, sunshine with a high temperature around 25 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 39.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. The Tummy Whisperer.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
There's no better way to defend democracy in front of your fascist Republican friends than with a cold progressive beer from the Minocqua Brewing Company of Wisconsin. So head on over to Beer on the Wall in Schaumburg, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, Captain Jack's Beverages in Worth, or the Wilmette Market to pick up a 4-pack or couple 2-3 of Maga Tears IPA today. Don't forget to drink and vote responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, a woman of color. We won't have that conversation for air, Scott, but, well, no, look, let me, first of all, let me do this. I was talking off the air to Scott about women of color running for office, and I think that it's going to be a bit before Democrats feel confident enough to put us at the top of the ticket again. And here's the thing: had it not been for the fact that when I ran amongst Democrats and liberals used my ethnicity against me and weaponized that, that's why I have no faith in Democrats to do the right thing. So I'll just leave it at that. Lindsay LaPointe and Robert Martwick. You know who I'm talking about.
No, they did.
Yeah. 1,000%.
No question.
It was home. Why can't I do this? Why won't you? There we go. No? Yeah. No, so that's my sense from personal experience that they talk the talk and they certainly sit down on the walk. I mean, they've just drenched themselves in the power that they have accumulated without any regard for what they actually say they stand for.
But you don't think, I mean, so you really do believe, that
we're done with women of color running for a while? I'm not saying women of color shouldn't run. Not at every level, certainly not. But for positions that can be manipulated by powerful factions, that I think that we are challenging. Because we have to fight so hard for where we are in society, we carry that with us into the offices or the positions that we attain. And it is, and look, you saw it at WGN when I was working there. Like, how was I any worse than here's the thing, I wasn't. There were men that worked in that station as hosts who were much more hostile to their producers and people around them. Oh, yeah. I remember Todd Manley complaining, and Stephanie Menendez talking about how one of the morning hosts had convinced them to buy like hundreds of baseball hats because of some promotion that he wanted to do, and then never got off never engaged it. But like, they would complain about his demands. There was another host who would throw things at producers. There was another, the condescending tone that one of the hosts that you and I know very well would use. It's astounding to me. But me just kind of like being, trying to do all, like being extrovert, being decisive on what my vision was. I was a bitch as far as they were. But by the way, I am bituational. Just so you know, I'm bituational, meaning I am only a bitch when people deserve it. Bituational is the word of the day.
I have never ever, and I've known. How long have I known you now? It's
over a decade.
Over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I have never, and I've seen you in high stress situations, both on the air and off, and I've never seen you act inappropriately. And with your producers, I still to this day am boggled.
I had a producer who got a restraining order against me because he claimed that I was threatening. Yeah. And they've never been able to show me any proof. Yeah. But so
okay.
that
this, by the way, folks, I say this about Patti behind her back. So this isn't some kind of weird defending
Patti seemed threatening to me and went to a courtroom and was, because he had friends that were on the bench and in the police department, was able to secure a restraining order against me. And then Democrats, who I had turned to for help in that situation, then used it against me in my campaign. So no, I don't have faith in Democrats to get behind a woman of color at a top level anytime soon.
Should there be a progressive party? Is it time for the progressives?
Well, we need ranked choice voting. I will tell you this much: any other parties right now outside, and so you need to have a come to Jesus moment from the Democrats and the Republicans. They both would absolutely benefit. No, not even them. Whatever. And the people who won't let it happen are going to be the billionaires and the corporations when they realize if you truly put the voice. Oh, yeah. You put the power of people's voice in their hands. They are not going to let that happen. And ranked choice voting to me is is a path to that.
You think so? Now they have that in California. Am I right?
I don't know if they have ranked choice voting. I know that you can have like 20 people run for something. I don't know how it breaks down. I don't know. I know that they have it in Maine. They have it in Alaska. That's how Sarah Palin was thwarted in her efforts for being elected. I know that Evanston is about to implement it, but here's the thing: even if you just use Chicago as an example for our mayoral races, when we have 13 to 18 candidates, and all of a sudden 2 people are now having a runoff, neither one of whom had 20%. I'm talking about Tony Preckwinkle and Lori Lightfoot. Neither one of them broke 20% of the vote in the general election. And then we're just down to those 2, which means that 60% of people didn't want either one of them to begin with. But it also comes down to your point.
How would that have worked in those circumstances? How would rank voting have worked?
Let's say in the Lori Lightfoot Preckwinkle race, right? You had Gary McCarthy, you had Susana Mendoza, you had Jamal Green. That was a full field, right? So let's say for that race, let's say your first choice mine would have been, and who I'll be honest, who I voted for. My first choice was Comptroller Susana Mendoza, right? So let's say that's not who, but my second choice might have actually been Tony Preckwinkle. Let's say that, right? So now if enough people if Comptroller Mendoza doesn't clear 50%, right? So then you drop it down. Like who of everyone's second choice, where does that congregate come up to where someone gets 50% of at least like second choices or third choices, and you rank them that way, right? So because here's the thing, if you don't have ranked choice voting, if your first choice doesn't win, Scott, your worst choice might.
And has.
And often does. and because that's what we're left with. Either your first choice or your worst choice. And that's all we're getting these days.
It seems that way, especially, the current mayor of Chicago. I mean, it's just, what a train wreck. I mean, I'm thinking, did you ever think in your wildest dreams you would be pining for the halcyon days of Lori Lightfoot, I don't. It's funny. I actually don't pine for Lori Lightfoot or Rahm Emanuel because I know in my heart that we are better than this, right? And here's the thing. I also don't pine for the days of Richard Daley. I do work toward holding people accountable in and that's what we don't do. We don't hold, and whether it's in Chicago or at the state level at least we voted Rauner out. Right? At least people came to their senses. But Steve was asking me this today. We were out for a walk today. And do you know that Wisconsin has a surplus of $4 billion? But because they have a Democrat as the governor and the Republicans have a supermajority, or at least they had a supermajority, because they're at odds as to how that money should be spent, which would help a tremendous amount of people, whether it's from childcare to education to social services. But because they disagree with each other politically, the funds are sitting there. But the reason they have, in part, that $4 billion surplus is because they have what? A progressive tax, which failed here in the state of Illinois. And Steve asked me, he kind of, for a moment, sort of combined the progressive tax with the millionaire's tax. Now, I don't know if you remember this, Scott. We had on the ballot, it was one of those things where it was a referendum, so it wasn't binding. It wasn't even a referendum. It was a question of the people of the state of Illinois. And the question was, should there be a millionaire's tax? And by almost the same percentage of people that voted for Governor Rauner, a billionaire who made his money off of hedge fund investments, including a senior care, which has been so decimated by hedge fund investors, right? The quality of care and the capability and the access to it, right? They voted for the same amount for the millionaire's tax, meaning people who earned over $1 million should be taxed at a higher rate. They voted for Rauner and they voted for the millionaire tax. But three Democrats killed the millionaire tax. Who are they?
Representative Franks, Representative Durkin, and Representative Duncan. And I will never forget that. And that's the thing, is that people forget. That was Democrats who, whether it was Franks and whatever money he was beholden to, same thing with Duncan and Durkin. This guy from I will never forget this turd. I really will never forget. I grabbed him in the hallway one day because the millionaire tax, the revenue from that was going specifically to education, because we had bills out there for restructuring our education funding model, and so they needed to fund it. And here we are, the city of Chicago, at a deficit of what is it? Over $300 million. I don't know that the millionaire tax would have close that gap because we know because of the lottery, right? Everyone's like, I thought the lottery is going to pay for that. But because the legislators in Springfield, including the friggin' Democrats, find ways to go, oh, well, the lottery money is covering that. So we'll take the money that usually goes to education and use it to kick the ball down the field in order to not be responsible for pensions this year. So anyway, what was your question? What were we talking about?
No, just...
am I being more depressing? The Democrats are not... I mean...
No, here's the thing. You're like me, or was. I'm a recovering Republican. I used to actually believe their stuff, and now I don't because they've lost their minds. But I was always, in my cartoons, I was always way harder on Republicans than I was on Democrats because I expected my side to act
having seen some of those... it was way harder when I'm just remembering a butcher shop. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. That was more of a religious belief, I guess.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I'm still not.
Because seriously, did Planned Parenthood really sell parts? I'm sorry, go ahead. Continue. What was your thing?
Yeah, well, apparently, that's... Okay.
It didn't happen.
Is that one you remember? That's
that and the football. Well, because you also had a fetus as a football. No, I remember all the abortion ones. Continue.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I'm saying that those seem more graphic than anything. The swipes you take at Republicans.
Oh, I've taken some pretty hard.
That's true.
Swipes
That's
at
fair.
Republicans.
That's true.
I really have, especially Rauner, who just got worse and worse and worse and worse. It was so funny. We were visiting my daughter-in-law has just landed a tenure track position at Southern Illinois University.
Oh, congratulations!
And it's amazing. The Rauner years, they're still paying for them. Did you know?
Yeah.
This?
Oh, no.
They did.
Don't make me scream.
Please,
Don't make me scream. No, but there are providers. Look, one of the things I wanted to do when I was at WGN, one of the things I asked was, could we do an investigative piece with the journalists in our newsroom to find out throughout the different parts of the state? Because, I mean, like, I was getting, folks from Chicago and the suburbs. Moms were coming down to Springfield. Dads, Dan Gorg came down and testified. And the thing is, not only did I know that people were going to die as a result of Governor Rauner and the budget impasse, but I also knew that we were going to have decades of impact. There are still service providers who had to close their doors and never came back to providing physical therapy, elder care. I remember there was one guy who continued to work without being paid for months because he knew that his client would not survive without his help. So don't get me started on how bad. I still talk to people who, and okay, I can't. Go ahead.
No, it was far worse than, and he was, how can I put this gently, Patty? Because it's, he was getting bad advice. A competitor at a different radio station was telling him.
Yeah. Dan Proft can suck all the eggs.
There it is.
And use a different word than eggs.
Yeah.
To your discretion.
I don't understand how he continues to make money. I don't understand how he continues to somehow. He's a con man. He somehow cons millionaires into giving him a lot of money.
Yeah.
To support his political beliefs. Which that makes sense.
I don't know how to be that person.
Campaigns now for a decade and a half that I know of, probably longer, and he loses except for the. Except for Bruce Rauner, and they moved the needle. Do you remember how they crowed in his political action committee was crowing about how they got the Republicans under the supermajority? They're still very much a minority in the House and Senate in Illinois, but how they got them slightly below the supermajority. And they did it for one election cycle.
Yeah. Which were, by the way, that's all. But that was all they needed. That's Franks, Duncan, and Durkin. That was when they didn't have a supermajority. Those are the three I'm talking about from 2015. Oh, okay. Yes. And so do you remember Obama? Do you remember when Obama gave his address in the chamber in the House of Representatives? And remember he said, sit down? Do you remember he called out? That was Duncan, who was thrown out of office. Who got his seat, who beat him? Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton had his seat before she became lieutenant governor. Oh, I really should write a book about these things. Yeah, it was a remarkable 4 years.
No one would believe it.
I got receipts. Yeah, I got some dirt. I got some dirt on Springfield. I don't even want to talk about these Springfield wives and husbands. Let's take a quick break here. We'll come back in just a minute on WCPT.
Okay.
I won't do it on the air. More in a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950. Let's take a quick break here, and I think we have a caller on hold, so let's get to his call. We're on the air with Scott Stantis. Oh my gosh, we don't have that much time. Scott Stantis, the political cartoonist for the Chicago Tribune, and GoComics.com is another place you can find all of his work. Right back after this.
Hey guys, this is Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views, weekday mornings from 6 to 8 a.m. on WCPT. For those of you who don't know, we have a digital newsroom anchored to our radio station. Our journalists at Heartland Signal uncovers some of the worst extremism from state legislatures, congressional races, and across government in the Midwest. And now, every weekday morning during the 7 o'clock hour, I'll fill you in on the latest Heartland Signal articles, editorials, and sound bites. You won't want to miss it.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. Millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
We are winding down with my good friend Scott Stantis, the political cartoonist for the Chicago Tribune, and go to GoComics.com, as well as his podcast with the other guy who didn't care who won the presidential election. What do you do with Ted Rall? What's the?
What do you do with him?
Yeah, exactly. I don't. No, I can't. Okay, and we don't have enough time for this here, so let's get. Can you come back next week sometime?
Absolutely.
Is there a good day for you? Because we need another conversation about. I'm being pulled. I will be honest with you, Scott. I'm being pulled farther to the left. I'm not as far. I'm nowhere. See, Ted went so far left, he went back around, kind of a thing. Like he's not like Naomi Wolf, like anti-vax kind of stuff. But there is like I've always been like, work with the tools you have. They might be rusty, and they might be the threads on the Phillips screw might be shredded. I'm not making a good analogy here, but I'm not ready to throw all the tools away. I'm not ready to burn it all down. And Ted's very much of a burn it. Like, who cares? It's like, yes. I need to be able to still function. I still need to take a stab at the job is all I'm saying.
Yeah, Ted is he's always been a flamethrower. He's always been a bomb thrower. That's just how Ted, that's very much on Ted's brand. But I'm with you. I mean, I'm like, if I had a conservative, like an actual part of the Republican Party I could believe in, then I'd probably say, okay, I can deal with it. They've gone so far beyond the pale. But as far as being on the left, I can totally see someone becoming more and more progressive, more and more liberal, and getting more and more frustrated with the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
as it stands right
stop taking corporate money. But I don't know how we win races without the corporate money. Like that's the conundrum. Is all I'm saying.
Well, I think you can win. I
think you have to. Everything we've tried it for 20 years, taking corporate money and letting the billionaires call the shots. Freaking give it a shot, folks. I'm sorry, I'm angry. I'm going to try one of these cookies that Dr. Jason Bussell brought me while we welcome Jim on the air because he wants to join us.
Jim.
Hey, Jim, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Scott. Real quick, the soft invasion of Mexico by the president-elect, taking back the Panama Canal.
Lordy.
You're putting Canada as their 51st state. And Greenland, I think he's got some kind of a fascination with Greenland, whatever it is, I don't know. But remember this, Jimmy Carter, when he was running for president, he had to see Richard Daley, because Richard Daley told him, if you win in Ohio, I promise you these 270 delegates I have. Because Adlai Stevenson Jr. was his the favorite son of Illinois at the time. So the point is, the Democrats and the Republicans, I don't care what the makeup of the parties are. It's been that way since the Democrats have been in operation since 1824, 200 years, and the Republicans since 1860. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. And as far as money and politics go, I don't know. With the Supreme Court that we have, with some of their decisions.
Well, that's the thing. Is that money doesn't belong in the judiciary, right? We've made judiciary political, and that was part of our huge mistake.
You're right.
Yeah,
Well,
which I know it always
talking
was.
about too is a Citizens United decision, which is money is speech.
Is speech.
Which, of course, is horse feathers. I mean, that's a crock. And Jim, real quick to your why Trump has the infatuation with Greenland, because Greenland is massive. We don't realize just how big it is. It would be the largest expansion of American territory in the history of the Union. That's what he wants. He may name it Trump land. You know,
what do you think Finland? What do you think Finland's got to say about it?
Well, something, I hope. They gave him money. Denmark gave him $1 billion in defense money.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Right on, Denmark. We got to go, Jim. Have a good night. Happy New Year, my friend. I'll be off tomorrow.
Happy New Year,
Thank you. Scott, always a pleasure. I adore you, my friend. I love you. I miss you this holiday season, but I'm so glad you could join us tonight, and look forward to having you back next week. We'll figure out a day.
Let's do it.
And again, what's the best place for folks to reach out to you and follow your work?
You can go. By the way, people are finding my email address, which I think is weird. So I'm getting emails from readers. Yeah, it's kind of strange. I'm not sure how they're doing it, but I guess it's pretty easy to figure out. But anyway, go to gocomics.com, Scott Stantis, gocomics.com/Prickly City, and go to the Chicago Tribune and check out my cartoons I draw for them. I'm drawing up a big end of the year thing that's going to come up, and missing Patty's delicious French cookies, which sounded
Bussell bought me some French biscuits. It's so good. These are so great. I'm going to go home and have some whiskey and a biscuit.
Ooh.
Whiskey and a cookie. Yes. So I hope we see you on Friday. If not, Scott, Happy New Year to you and your family.
Absolutely.
My love to Jeannie. Bye, everybody. I know I'm super late. Bye, Lady B. Happy New Year. I'm sorry I'll be spending it with you tomorrow. Everybody, Elliot Serrano will be in tomorrow. Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil. Take care, everybody. Love you.
Hey there, it's Carrie Joy with your Work Money Minute. Freezing your credit sounds drastic, but it's not. In fact, freezing your credit is one of the best ways you can